my speaker's too loud, do you want me to, like, give her a headset or something? Or is
No,
that
it works perfectly fine.
Alright.
Alright. Oh my god. This room is disgusting.
Whoa, what did you just say?
See? His room smells like boy.
Oh, that's good.
Ew.
Alright.
Move over.
Alright, hold on, open the stream. Alright, where do you want to start your argument?
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Who, is this you?
Yeah, this is me.
Yeah.
Who else would it be?
Is this Harrison? Hi, I'm Nate's mom.
No, this isn't Harrison.
Oh.
It's Steven.
Steven, hi.
Are you guys from Brooklyn?
No,
Oh, okay.
we're not. So, I guess Nate wants me to have the view that I think cursing is bad, and really what I'm saying to him is that there's a time and the place for everything. I think that cursing with your peers is one thing, but to have a conversation and keep using curse words, like when I just came in his room and I said it smells like a boy. He doesn't need to curse at me. There just doesn't. It takes away from what I'm saying, the cursing. What else can I tell you? I think when people curse, it does take away from the content of what they're saying, and you just concentrate on the curse words, especially if it's not peers, if it's somebody that is older than you.
Like school.
School, your teachers, your parents, your people you work for.
Do you think, I feel like if I'm talking to somebody and they get so hooked onto one or two words that I say that the meaning of my message becomes, I guess, unclear, then I feel like that's a fault of the listener rather than the speaker. I agree with the first part you said, that there's a time and a place. Regardless of how I feel about language, I'm not going to walk into a job interview and start swearing at the interviewee, like a friend, because that would be inappropriate. Much the same way that I wouldn't go up to the Pope and be like, "What's up, dude?" Even without swearing, that would still be ridiculously inappropriate.
Right.
But I guess my main issue is when people say things like swearing takes away from your message, or swearing makes it so that you're unclear.
I do think that swearing takes away from your message, because if people are hung up on other people using foul language, that they're concentrating on just what the curses are, the foul language, as opposed to what the real message you're trying to convey.
Let us say, for example, and I'm sorry if foul language offends you, I'll be a little crass. Say somebody's really irritating me, and I tell the person I want you to shut the fuck up. Like, say for like a message like that, I feel like using a swear word there delivers your message as concisely as possible without beating around the bush. And I feel like there's no other way to get an equivocal message across in as few words as that. Would you agree with that?
Who are you saying it to? You saying it to your mother?
Probably not to my mom. That would be pretty rude. But if I were to say shut up to my mom, even that would be incredibly rude. But say it's to a friend or to somebody who's bugging you or whatever. Regardless of what I'm saying, I'm just saying, like, if you look at the message there, you want a person to be quiet and you want her to do it as soon as possible and you want her to know that you're very serious about it. I don't feel like there's an equivocal way to express that message without using that particular expression.
I agree, but like you just said, you wouldn't say it to your parents. You would say it to your mom. My son says it to me and my husband all the time. I find it terribly offensive. I don't think. Okay, if he said it to you guys playing this game, I think that's fine. You're all peers. I mean, that's how you all talk.
Okay, and this is incredibly awkward, and I have absolutely no idea what the relationship is between you and your child, and I don't want to infringe on that at all. But I guess my question to you would be, I wouldn't be worried that your son is telling you to shut the fuck up. I would be more worried the fact that he isn't respecting you enough to hear out whatever you're trying to say. Like, if you say something to your child and he says shut the fuck up or shut up, I think either way, I think both of those are equally unacceptable, and you should probably address the issue of him not respecting you or not listening to you before you look at the actual words he uses to disrespect you. Does that make sense?
Good point, yes.
That's how I feel about it.
For example, like, my dad wouldn't have a problem with me saying fuck at dinner, whereas, like, whether it's reactionary or it's for me to get a point across, whereas the actual idea I don't think has ever, like, had any emphasis on it, which is my problem with it. And I think, like, also in, like, an educational world, like, I don't know if you, I don't think you agree with all that one.
I just mean, there are times and places where swearing is inappropriate, and there are times and places where swearing can help to express yourself better than not swearing would be. I believe that swearing is part of a vocabulary much the same as any other word. People say like a lot, like swearing, like, I think that stuff like that can be just as distracting, it all just kind of depends.
I agree with you. I think we're saying the same thing. I think cursing.
What were you saying about
okay?
A little bit. Well, but really important. What you said earlier was really, really, really important because a lot of people share the view that you just had, and that they get really hung up on swear words when instead of getting hung up on the particular words, they need to get hung up on the message behind the words. If your child is telling you, is swearing at you or whatever, I don't think your issue should be my child is saying bad words at you. I think the issue should be my child is disrespecting me. I need to fix a way to change his attitude rather than the language that he the language that he uses to convey an unacceptable attitude. I don't like that people try and make bad behavior acceptable by wrapping it up in a good in good language, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I feel very, very strongly about that point. Okay.
What do you think about people that try to remove those certain words from their language?
I think it's sad. Some people just do, but I mean, I don't know. Some people do.
You think that's sort of a mistake in the parents' part to not actually address anything else except the actual language, and that you're actually
definitely. Yeah, like I said earlier, there's plenty of ways to be incredibly rude and disrespectful without ever saying a swear word, and there's also plenty of ways to be
with your friends.
And what?
I'm sorry, if you're talking with your friends and I don't know if you're cursing or not, and one person is just awkwardly using petite SAT language the entire time. Do you think that's a little bit awkward and it takes away? Because I think in a social environment, whether it's school or online with friends or something like that, I think that sometimes cursing is the natural, and if you don't curse, it sounds a little bit weird. Do you agree with that?
I mean, it just kind of depends on the kind of person you are and how you like to express yourself. There are some people who are really bad at swearing. There are some people who say fuck, 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 every 2 words, and they just sound really stupid when they do it. On the other hand, there are tryhards who will come in and they'll drop SAT level vocabulary on you constantly throughout a conversation. And you can't tell if they're doing it, because they're just trying to sound smart or whatever. I mean, I think that both are equally inappropriate. It would be rude of me to if a homeless guy was asking for food or whatever, and I were to start quizzing him, or I were to talk in a highly elevated manner. I think that would be just as inappropriate as walking up to your principal and being like, "Dude, what the fuck? I totally failed that test," or walking up to your teacher and saying that. I believe that both are equally inappropriate.
I think the other thing is that if you curse a lot and don't use your English language, that you sound like a punk and you don't sound very smart.
It's possible, but the thing that worries me there isn't the language being used. It's the fact that the people who are making those judgments are the same people that teach us in school not to judge people based on the kind of clothing they wear or the background they come from. The same people that tell you not to pass judgment quickly on other people are passing judgment on people equally just based on a word they use and not even the ideas they try to convey. I find that incredibly hypocritical and a little bit intellectually dishonest, I guess, to say that you can evaluate a person's intelligence just based upon the words they used without ever trying to look at the message they're trying to convey.
But I think in the real world, people do judge people by how they look, what comes out of their mouth. I do. I mean, yes, it'd be great if in a perfect world if we, could have blinders on and people just
yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, what you're getting into is...
That doesn't happen. I mean, you go for a job interview, 2 perfect candidates, the same education and everything, and one is well-groomed and has a nice suit on, and the other one comes in torn jeans showing his underwear. They're going to go for the person that's well-groomed, most likely.
You think in a social environment?
But again, try not to confuse the... there's a philosophical side to this, and there's a practical side to this. Philosophically, I mean, you obviously know where I stand on the issue. But practically, like I said earlier, I'm not going to go into a job interview looking like a bum and swearing a lot, and then I'm going to tell the guy not to judge me, I mean, obviously, that you have to choose your audience. You have to be smart about, what you do. I mean, there's a very realistic application of what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
There is. Well, no, I think that
just because of what I'm saying, I'm not going to walk around swearing at every single person I see just to get a point across. That would be silly and ultimately self-defeating.
Okay, well, I think that's where Nathaniel doesn't get the differentiation, is that the right word? Because he thinks it's appropriate to talk to me that way, talk to his father way.
I never said it was appropriate. I think that
but you curse
I'm
at me all
starting
the
the same
time.
ideas across. No, I don't curse directly at you. That's what I'm talking about.
Shut the fuck up. You do say that to me.
Right.
You do, Nathaniel. It's totally disrespectful.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said there, I mean, that is kind of disrespectful. Oh, no, I mean, it is, but him telling you to be quiet at all would be disrespectful. Regardless of the words that he uses to do it, he's still conveying the same idea, and I would worry more about why is he telling you to be quiet rather than the words that he's using. Like, would you feel better if you came home and you tried, like, hey, clean your room, shut up, mom, shut up, mom? Like, I think that would sound just as bad to me as shut the fuck up, mom, shut the fuck up, mom. Like, they sound the same to me.
Yeah, they're both, no, absolutely, yeah, I agree, they're both bad. Yes, I'd agree with you.
What were you saying about school uniforms? That like I think that you mentioned the other day that like people wear that the reason that people the school would give school uniforms is to basically limit the amount of things that people can make fun of. Were you saying that? I think Stephen was saying that.
Oh, I also think school uniforms are fine because it levels the playing ground. So people that have and people that have not, everyone's equal and you have a school uniform.
Yep, but like you said just earlier, the real world never works that way, and it never will work that way. If the real world worked that way, then socialism and communism would be the prevalent forms of government, and everybody would be happy. There's just no possible way that once you leave a classroom, everybody in the world is going to be the exact same.
Oh,
everybody knows that.
But you're for school uniforms?
The problem is, no.
The thing is that adolescence is a very tough age. I have a 13-year-old daughter. What it does, at least it removes one obstacle. They can't say, "Oh, look, I'm wearing Gucci and Prada."
But the problem is, and I'm not that much of a parent yet, and I sound incredibly pretentious when I talk this way because I don't have children that I'm raising, and I know the difficulties of raising a teen. But from the outside looking in, and I guess as somebody who's gone through the educational system, it looks like we spend the majority of our children's lives removing obstacles rather than teaching them how to overcome the obstacles. Like, why would we have a classroom full of kids who can't treat each other when they look differently? Why not teach them to treat each other based on, or like, why not teach them to treat each other the same regardless of how they look, rather than making them all look the same so that we never have to address the problem? Like, how does that kid learn anything once he leaves the classroom and he actually finds people who look different than him? You know?
Yeah, well, we do not have uniforms in our school district, but they have a whole bullying thing and. Be nice to each other, respect them, and they have forums when, there isn't. So I think the schools are becoming more, they're focusing that way because there's so much bullying going on, cyberbullying and real bullying, that I think that is a real issue for schools at this point. I just think I've read a lot of studies about school uniforms, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I really don't. I just think it's one less things that gets in the way of teaching.
I mean, it is, and it definitely makes everybody's job easier, but I think the end result is you get an adolescent entering college with very little real-life experience who's unable to cope with problems that exist outside of the paradigm that we present to them in school.
No, I don't think so.
What happens when you get kids who have gone through grade school and high school who are all babied by teachers and you've got bullying forums and blah, 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 and then that same kid gets a job and he's got a coworker that harasses him and his boss doesn't give a shit? How is that kid going to possibly be able to cope with that coworker when all of his life he's been able to run to some kind of authority figure to get himself bailed out of trouble?
No, but that's not what these forums do. What they do, because if Nathaniel, if you know him at all, he was kids bullied him all the time and he would react violently. What they do is they get the kids together to figure out a different way of dealing with each other. It's not like, Tommy's going to get in trouble because he bullied you. That's not what they do. They, they get together and try to work it out and say, you have differences, and they do teach them real hands-on solutions. They don't say, you're in trouble because you bullied him. That's not what goes on.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how the system works, but I mean, that sounds good. It sounds like a good way to approach problems.
That would be different for districts. So.
Well, that's our district because bullying is a big thing. What else can I tell you? What else do you want to know? Anyway, so
I think you said that people sound stupider when they curse, but I don't know. Stephen was trying to make the argument that a lot of smart people curse, and I know
a lot of smart people curse, and a lot of dumb people don't curse. So I don't believe there's a correlation between the language you use and the ideas you have.
You think the perception is different?
I think that the perception that people who curse are stupid are held by people who are incredibly prejudgmental. That would be my point.
But I think what happens when you curse is you sound like a punk, and you take away, I'm talking about when you're cursing to elders, you take away what you're trying to get across because, yes.
I mean, and like I said earlier, it all depends on the point you're trying to convey. If I'm giving a speech to a bunch of school children and I'm talking about, I'm introducing the new curriculum for the next year and I'm the school principal, there's no reason to curse in that format, Whereas if we're in a comedy club or something, or I'm telling a funny an anecdote of some kind, or I don't know, and I'm trying to relate a story. I mean, maybe cursing can be appropriate. I mean, it all depends on the time and the place. I think even Obama dropped the F-bomb.
You think, opening up the GSL or whatever it was with "What Up, Bitches" was appropriate?
I don't know. I'm really on the fence about that, and I lean more towards no, just because.
No, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who your
Yeah. Just because the audience that they're trying to appeal to with the TSL is such a wide
I think
audience.
that people complaining about like specific streams having like if people complain about you using a certain language that hurt esports or something like that. Do you think?
Well,
that's
like I said, there's a really big difference between the practical and the philosophical side of
right.
elements. Philosophically, I think that opening up with "What's up, bitches" is totally fine. I don't see any problem with that. Realistically, I would never do it just because of the audience you're trying to appeal to. I'm just curious, how do you feel about nudity in movies?
We were talking about this at dinner. Like, I'm fine with it, but would I want my 7-year-old kid?
What about a 14 or 15-year-old kid seeing nudity in movies? Two people going at it on screen.
I would rather not be with them when they're seeing it, and it depends who the kids are. It would make me uncomfortable watching my kid watching, honestly.
Oh.
But no, I think that's, I think they've probably been exposed to it more at this point anyhow.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not really a prude or anything, so. But, I would also want to traumatize it, if there was a 13-year-old who's never been exposed to that, a Mormon or something, why should they be exposed to it?
Yeah.
I think you have to, it's a case-by-case, that type of thing.
Okay.
Are we done now? Did I convince you? No, I think we're sort of on the same page. Know your audience.
Yeah. There's an appropriate time and a place for everything.
Exactly.
For foul language and for not foul language. Like I said, there are some perfectly acceptable expressions like "What's up, dude?" that you would say to friends that you would never say, that would be just as disrespectful to an elder.
That's right.
I don't know. I think like my biggest problem with language is that when you if you're at school with someone and someone says like if you curse at someone and the teacher immediately says like don't say that. I think that's a huge problem because I don't think that you're actually addressing the I think you're addressing more the words that they use, but the actual idea.
And don't you think my son should not curse at his mother and his father because it irritates us and we cannot get him to stop? And I know what you're saying. Why is he cursing at us? I understand what you're saying, but I just wish he would stop and then we could focus on the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, my parents don't like swearing, so I typically don't swear around them, just out of respect for them. But I mean, it kind of depends on, I don't know.
So you're a nice kid. You want to come live with us? We'll trade him in.
Maybe. I don't know. Do you have room for my kid? Yeah. All right. Have fun. Be careful.
Mom, what is that?
Thanks, Steven.
Yeah. Have fun. I love you.
I love you too.
Why are you